How do you define failure? We all have things we want to achieve. This is true in video games as much as it is in our everyday lives. How gamers define their success is different in every game, but the pursuit of success in gaming can help balance the frustrations of the real world.
Nice. Wow.
In a game like Trackmania, where new community-made maps are shared every day, there are perhaps an infinite number of goals you can pursue. With that, there are many ways to define success, and just as many ways to find failure.
Oh. Dude, what an end.
This is a story of failure, and of the hunt to overcome it. This story begins, in a way, outside of video games. The details are unimportant, but with the first few months of 2023 came a lot of chaos and uncertainty for me. Because of that, I found myself searching for something to take my mind off of everyday life. Somehow, the recent variety of maps and surfaces in Trackmania didn't offer anything that really grabbed my attention. Apex Legends was still very hit or miss.
No!
Then Gundam Evolution had a matchmaking and player leaving problem.
Mission complete.
That left me in a bit of a void until on Saturday, March 4th, when the Trackmania Cup of the Day was a map called Alkeline by the mapper Ellipse. Normally, I may not have cared much for this map. In the 15-minute qualifying period, I managed a mediocre performance worthy only of Division 20. Even though I felt I might be capable of a higher division, like 13 or 14, I was enjoying the map enough to continue on and play the elimination rounds. In these rounds, I usually don't do very well. The format is such that only the slowest 4 players go out every round. That's fine, but I often lack consistency and always crash at some point in the early rounds. Plus, I rarely have enough pace to play the map fast enough to make me competitive in the later rounds. But this time, something was different. Initially, I did lack the pace to compete with the top players in my division.
I don't have 39-0 base, so let's see.
But as the rounds progressed, I was able to find faster lines and shave time off my personal best to the point where I was in the top 10 most rounds.
Oh. Wow. Okay, maybe.
After a few close calls, I found myself still in contention, far later into the rounds than I had ever been before.
That's the worst possible place I could have failed. There's no way. Whoa.
Before I knew it, I was in the final. My hands were actually sweating at this point, and I could feel adrenaline starting to kick in. It was only Division 20, but I'd never won before. So I really wanted this, and I knew I could do it.
Oh.
After a fairly good start, my line around the curve was a fraction too wide. After hitting the pole, I bounced into the checkpoint before I could react, and my respawn was ruined. There was nothing I could do. Even though this was the furthest I had ever made it in Cup of the Day rounds, I still felt defeated. Crashing in a spot I hadn't crashed all day was perhaps the worst part, since I had failed in a section that should have been routine. But the crash sparked something in me. In the moment, I didn't really know why, but I knew that I couldn't let it end with that failure. Even though I didn't know what I was chasing, I returned to the track a few hours later to try to improve my time. I wasn't chasing the author medal, which is the highest official medal on each track. I didn't even have a specific goal time in mind. All I knew was that I had to improve, to show myself that I was capable of more than what I showed in that final round. This led me into the evening, when the cup repeats in the daily Cup of the Night. This cup is played by a lot fewer players, so there are generally only about 5 or 6 divisions, but a handful of the best players are still involved. For me, this means I am usually around Division 2 or 3, but in the back of my head, this time I wondered if my practice on this map meant I could land in the top 64 players and qualify for Division 1. It didn't take long in the qualifier for me to realize I probably wasn't going to make it. I was consistently getting closer to my personal best time, but that seemed as though it was only going to be good enough for Division 2. I could feel myself fighting off disappointment, but I continued anyway, because any division would give me a chance to redeem myself in rounds. But as the 15-minute qualifier neared its end, a surprising thing happened.
Oh, let's go, baby. Is it gonna hold? Come on, baby. Come on. Please hold. Come on. Whoa.
Wow. In my very last run, I set a new personal best time, squeezing into the top 64 and making Division 1 on a grass map for the first time. I knew I didn't have a chance in rounds now since I was competing against some of the best players in the world, but I didn't care. I had come through when it mattered to achieve something I'd never done before.
No doubt, first round, I will take it.
This left me with only one goal remaining: pushing towards the author time to get as high in the rankings as I could before the 24-hour leaderboards closed at the start of the next cup of the day. So, the next morning, I booted up the game and played as much as I could before the cutoff. It wasn't long before I improved, but there was still time left in between me and the author medal. And that was when I hit a wall. I only needed a small improvement, but no matter what I did, I couldn't get there. When the clock ran out, I found myself still short of my goal. Failure is a strange thing. Sometimes we can push past it, as long as we never give up. But sometimes failure is permanent. It all depends on the parameters that set the challenge, and on how we define success versus failure. I had failed to reach the author time within 24 hours. My final time would always carry the fact that I couldn't learn the map quickly enough to meet that deadline. So the question was, did it really matter? To be honest, I did consider giving up, but I knew that the 24-hour deadline was a bit arbitrary. There were no rules that said I couldn't continue to play the map. My place on the leaderboards wasn't really important. All that mattered was me, and whether I was willing to find the extra 200th I needed to get the author medal. And unlike some maps where it's clear I lacked the skill to reach that goal, this time I knew I could do it. What followed was perhaps the most severe tunnel vision I've ever had in a video game. I was so engrossed in refining my lines and trying to understand what I was missing that I lost all track of time. Minutes melted into hours, and for 3 days I played so long that my fingers started to hurt from tapping the keys, and my arms would ache from sitting in one position for too long. Grass is one of the most punishing surfaces in Trackmania, because even the slightest tap of steering or change in angle can ruin your speed. Everything had to be exactly right, from my entry into turns, to the number of times I tapped right or left, to the timing of the exit from a curve and the angle I was taking up and down each hill. This map demanded perfection, and it was pushing me to my limits. For a while, I felt defeated by the track. No matter what I did, I lost time in the ending. So many times I came infuriatingly close. I could taste success, and time after time I found only failure. But I was consumed. This map had turned into an obsession during cover of the day, not just because I had lost, but because I had failed. I wanted this medal. Part of me felt like I needed it. Finally, on the 4th day of hunting the map, I tried racing against different ghosts from the leaderboard to see if I could learn anything new. At first, I didn't see much other than extremely clean racing lines. But then, I noticed something. Higher into lower would give you more speed. Wait. Does that pay off? Did you make the adjustment early enough in the turn? Maybe. Oh my god, dude. It's so obvious once you see it. 6 more speed at that checkpoint is huge. If I took a more aggressive line to the right in the final turn, the downhill would give me more speed through the dip into the uphill. That would theoretically carry me into the finish and could be the key to finally finding a faster time. That was when this happened. I'm negative splitting my finishes almost every time now. Which means if it's a big if. Let's go! Yes! Woo! Oh, I thought I was gonna lose it in the finish. Oh, man. Looking back on it, maybe this medal shouldn't have mattered so much. Maybe I shouldn't have cared. But sometimes life can be difficult. And in those times, video games can offer a unique relief. No matter my position on the leaderboard or the amount of time it took, it was important for me to know that I had not been defeated by my failures, and that I had accomplished something difficult, even after it seemed like it might be impossible. And in case it seems like I didn't have any fun while hunting this track, I can tell you that I definitely did. Dude, what are my starts right now? What am I doing? Help!
Someone stole my starts. I want them back.
Thank you everyone for watching. If you enjoyed, please do leave a like and consider subscribing. Stay safe out there, and I will see you next time.